I don't know what to call you. Comrade, General, Field Marshal. I think the last time you told us you're Field Marshal.
You know, if you look at the garment he's wearing, and some of the more famous individuals who we also attribute these garments to, the proper title would be El Presidente.
El Presidente.
Elder has it.
Okay.
Nelson HAVI, welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you again on the show.
Sant.
And good to see you you're still wearing the same fatigue. You've decided that this is your look now.
Yeah, this is the look. I'm tired of the suits. We've done our part in court. Perhaps it's now time for us to do our part elsewhere in the field and hopefully in the legislature.
Even if you look at it, then some would say that if the outfit speaks for a man, then you're saying that we must be then more forceful. Is that what you're saying?
We've always been very forceful, but we will continue adding more force to the assignment ahead of us because where we're going requires more force than we've deployed before.
Where are you going?
And where are we now?
Yes.
Look at where we are right now. Are Kenyans satisfied with the state of governance in this country? Are they well represented? Is there rule of law? What about their rights? To what extent have our elected leaders and appointed leaders ensured that there is good governance and the rule of law? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves as we project where we are and where we ought to be. In my honest opinion, there is now need more than ever before for men and women in Kenya to stand up and offer themselves for leadership in either role, be it elective or appointive. And, without interfering with your schedule of activities for today, that's the reason as to why you always see me in the field in Westlands, trying to see how best we can improve the governance of this country.
So it's because you feel that there's a breakdown somewhere, breakdown in the rule of law, and a letdown by those that have been bestowed upon the responsibility to lead.
Absolutely. And let me pick it from the most pivotal point. The parliament is supposed to be the bastion upon which the rule of law is founded, because parliament is tasked with the responsibility of upholding the constitution, of ensuring oversight over the executive, of ensuring that there is a equitable distribution of the national revenue. I mean, look at the papers today. You see that students who had enrolled for university education cannot get into the university because fees have been raised considerably. Yet there is a court order that fees ought not to have been raised. Look at the cost of living. It's gone up. Very few people can afford fuel. Very few people can afford food. Very few people can afford health care. Why is it the case? Why is it just peculiar to Kenya? This is a clear indicator of a breakdown of the rule of law, of lack of good governance. And we haven't even talked about the many instances where there are violations of the Constitution, disobedience of court orders. These are rampant.
Comrade. You know, whenever I mention the word comrade, it's a throwback. I'm taken back to the days when I was a student at the University of Nairobi, when everybody at that particular time was a comrade. Just by virtue of being there, you're a comrade. The institution that you had, from what we read, it's been beleaguered by what appear to be conflicts. You and some of the leadership not seeing eye to eye. Now, these issues are ongoing. I haven't come across a situation where they've been settled. And now, if you are looking outward to bringing some sort of resolution to the absence of good governance in the country and to bring about some of these clearly social injustices that we speak of, tell us what it is that you're going to do to bring justice and peace in the institution that you are heading.
The United States of America is a world power. It engages in war all over the world. But you want to tell me there is no anecdotal civil strife in the United States of America? There's no spiraling crime there? There is. So it is from that prism that you must perceive my leadership of the Law Society of Kenya. And I have no apologies about it. On the threshold, I indicated that I'll be a wartime president. What else do you expect me to do than to engage in war? And often, when you engage in war with an adversary like the government of the Republic of Kenya, there will be infiltration into your camp. And it's very minimal, insignificant. In fact, Elder, I'm sure if I were to ask you to name the individuals who are sabotaging my administration, you wouldn't even be able to name them. You wouldn't even be able to identify them and differentiate them from a can of paint, would you?
Actually, you've stated it well by giving a really good example of a world power, which you are not, sir. And you have juxtaposed it well, because it's a government, yours is also a government. It's a power within itself, and it has what you call the sort of strife that you expect in any gathering of, should we say, people of whom you are the leader among equals. That I get and I understand. But the reason why I ask the question is this. Even if there is perceived strife, what I asked for is what you are doing to be able to bring this to, you have explained the circumstances, but what are you doing to bring it to a point where one can see there is relative peace within the organization that you head?
Elder, we are living in the last days where people will have eyes and they will not see. They'll have ears and they will not hear. They'll have night but they will not sleep. Let me add to the Bible. I believe many Kenyans are able to perceive and see what we've done at the Law Society of Kenya. The other day when I indicated that the special general meeting will be my last assignment, I enumerated more than 20 judgments that we had obtained against government and governmental institutions. But to cap it all, we stopped many people who were determined to destroy the Constitution on their tracks. And Elder, this is something that is monumental, which you must always put on my shoulder.
Add a badge and a medal.
An epaulette. Yes.
But thank you for the evaluation, because, look, no leader will be successful, but he who must also admit the pitfalls and flaws in his administration.
I think
to the extent that we have distinguished ourselves in the rule of law and holding the government accountable, I think that's a big score. You may point out the internal strife and perhaps failure to accommodate all these characters, but the environment where we prevail is very significant in determining how we have served. It's a perilous environment. It's tumultuous. So it is expected that there will be a break here and there.
Power for the cause. As you talk about, rule of law, and maybe the rule of law is broken down, but at the same time, you are claiming credit for many things that have actually taken place. You, at the helm of the Law Society of Kenya, you've just said about 20 significant cases that you've taken to court, that you have won against the executive. That shows that there's rule of law. That shows that there's at least there's that balance, that you'll go to court and you'll be able to argue out a case, and it doesn't matter whether the case is against the executive or the legislature. The judiciary will look at the merits of a case before it.
You are right, and you're also wrong, because the rule of law is intended to ensure that government runs smoothly, the rights of the citizens are respected. And it's only on rare occasions that we are required to resort to legal action. But here in Kenya, you have to resort to legal action to achieve and realize any of your rights. I mean, what is it that we have not taken to court? We've taken to court almost everything. The other day, I believe it must have been Clay Muganda, who said perhaps we should just submit all the decisions of this government to the court and ask the court to indicate which ones are constitutional, which ones are not. But it shouldn't be like that in an ideal situation. And that's why I picked my discourse from the primordial step, Parliament. If Parliament was doing its work effectively, wouldn't end up with all these disputes in court. And of course, you can see the court is always on headwinds because it is forced, it's put in a situation whereby it must make hard decisions, which ought not to be made if everybody was performing his or her functions.
Right.
And the decisions are many. Yeah.
So we're seeing the situation in which we are currently in because there are certain functions by certain parties that are not being fulfilled. About a week ago, you've called on the DPP and the DCI to stop this power wrangle, which we've spoken about quite extensively here a couple of days ago and even today. So we're seeing that cases are not being solved in this country. We're seeing that justice is not being served, and this could very well be one of the reasons as to why that is not happening. Who's got to ensure that that happens? These wrangles between the DCI and the DPP, for example, taking place right now. So it seems that things stall. Cases are up in the air. They're not being adjudicated. Justice is not being served. Rule of law, then, not being upheld. Who's to see that that is being done? And when you said end these wrangles, what did you mean exactly?
You know, the problem in this country, if you take up a responsibility and undertake it effectively, you will always be castigated. And this is the perilous situation that my very good friend Nurdin Haji finds himself in. But what is the background? There was a point in time in Kenyan's criminal justice history where police were tasked with the dual responsibility of investigating and prosecuting. And to a lesser extent, that role was oversighted by a department within the Office of the Attorney General. Now, why did we have the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution entrenched in the Constitution as an independent office? The reasons are obvious and they are historical. Because for a long period of time, police abused their power to settle scores in many aspects. And it's for that reason that the people of Kenya decided we'll have a Director of Public Prosecution who will be under no control, under no direction from anybody. In fact, the Director of Public Prosecution is above the Director of Criminal Investigations. It therefore baffles many why the Director of Criminal Prosecution has continuously been used to settle scores, and when he submits the files to the Director of Public Prosecution and is told this case cannot be prosecuted, this particular case requires further investigation, patch up these areas for us to be able to do it. But look at what the Director of Public Prosecution does. And you don't need even to go far. Look at myself, for instance. There are two trumped-up charges that were drawn by the Director of Criminal Investigation. One is the one related to Miguna Miguna, when the police had confiscated his passport, and I stated in an affidavit that indeed the police had confiscated his passport, dragged him and taken him to Dubai without his consent. What did they do? They drew up charges. They purported to forward a complaint to the Law Society of Kenya against me. I mean, how can you sustain such a charge?
And it was based solely on this affidavit that you drew up on this Miguna case?
And a matter which was taken before the court, and the court determined it against the government. Understand? Fast forward, and this resonates with what Elder here always refers to as internal strife within my administration in the Law Society. That's spurious complaint by the former CEO of the Law Society that she had been assaulted by me, an incident that was witnessed by 9 people. What did the Director of Criminal Investigation do? Sends heavily armed officers to come and pick me in my office. I spent the whole day at the DCI offices. And then in the subsequent morning, a charge is taken to the DPP to approve. How would you charge somebody with assault in an incident that is witnessed by 9 people on the testimony of 1 person. It beats logic. No wonder the other day, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, while speaking at the induction for new prosecutors, said we need to have a caliber of investigators that are a little bit informed. We can't have individuals who got D+ being tasked with the responsibility of investigating serious matters of this
Is that
kind.
what you're saying is happening in the country currently?
Yeah, there is a problem at the Office of the Director of Criminal Investigations, a big problem. It's either premeditated or is informed by lack of sufficient training. But to a large extent, I think it's premeditated because they have all the facilities. But just to close on your question, the fight between the Director of Public Prosecution and the DCI is motivated by forces outside those 2 institutions. There is a determined effort to take away the power given to the Director of Public Prosecution by the Constitution to act independently, to act without control or direction of everybody. And I believe the Public Service Commission and the courts will assert these rights and throw away these spurious petitions that have been filed against the Director of Public
Former investigators, in fact, during the BBI conversations, former investigators came together and they said, in fact, the better thing for us to have is to have the Office of the DCI also being linked from the police and being independent. Do you think that would be a good thing?
No.
Have those 2 as completely autonomous institutions, so the DCI is investigating autonomously and independently, the DPP is prosecuting independently.
No. It can't be. Because, you see, the offices created under the Constitution are 2. We have the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution and we have the National Police Service. The Director of Criminal Investigations is a department within the National Police Service. And look, if that office, which is a department of the National Police Service, can be rogue as it is right now, what will be its status if it is given autonomy and independence? I mean, these guys will gravitate into a bunch of criminals with state power.
It may actually give people such as yourselves and the rest of the public more access to putting them to check, holding them accountable. Because right now, as a department of the National Police Service, then you just, talk about the entire National Police Service. Oh, how far are we with the police reforms? It's a one budget for the National Police Service. Are we giving sufficient budget to the DCI? Are we giving sufficient training to the DCI? But if you actually pulled it out, just like the office of the DPP was pulled out from the AG's office, it may give them that autonomy, maybe greater responsibility and better oversight.
No, Latif, the police are just the police. They must have one head. And the head of the police is the Inspector General of the National Police Service. And that's an office created under the Constitution. And this discussion that you are inviting us to undertake is a discussion that is informed by what we are experiencing right now. We attend meetings that relate to the criminal justice sector. The Inspector General of National Police attends. For whatever reason, the Director of Criminal Investigation decides not to attend. Like the most important of these events, and which is crucial to what we're discussing, was the meeting where the guidelines on the decision to charge were launched, and these guidelines had been prepared in a consultative framework where the DCI and the National Police Service were involved. For whatever reason, the Director of Criminal Investigation decided to abscond. He did not attend. And I've seen his mouthpiece, David McCulley, write in many newspapers claiming that he's not bound by those guidelines. Look, his boss, the Inspector General of National Police, was there. If he didn't attend, and he ought to have attended, it's not a reason as to why he should purport to arrogate to himself powers that he does not have. The powers of criminal prosecution are given to the Director of Public Prosecution. In fact, the Director of Public Prosecution has oversight roles over the National Police Service insofar as investigations are concerned. So, Latif, my legal opinion, and this is a strong legal opinion, we cannot have an autonomous DCI. He must always be subordinate to the Inspector General of National Police and the Director of Public Prosecution.
Let's take a break. It's 29 minutes after 8. We are live on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, online, in the Situation Room with Nelson HAVI, the President of the Law Society of Kenya. The state of the rule of law in the country, status of the human rights in the country. That's what we're discussing this morning. Keep it right here for more. Let's take this break. We want to take a look at how the roads are looking like, and then we'll continue the conversation. The President of the Law Society of Kenya, Nelson HAVI. Who's your... is it Che Guevara or is it Fidel Castro? Or is it both?
Fidel Castro.
Okay.
Yes.
Citi had a question for you before we went to the break.
I did. There is an interesting history. If you look at the Kenya Police Service, those who have headed this department, what we call the investigation department, the first African was someone called Peter Ochieng. Nobody even knows about him. But Ignatius Nderi was known. Arap Too was known. Joseph Kamau was known. There was Ndung. Now, each of these people, up to the current DCI, have been extremely powerful people. Some were in the public domain more than others, but they've always been so powerful to the point where one got the impression they didn't really answer to the commissioner or whoever it was who was the head. I mean, from your perspective, how do you explain this? Because our DCI or CID bosses in this country have been extremely powerful people.
Therein lies your answer. There have been extremely powerful people, and the holders of those offices in the recent past, post the promulgation of the Constitution, have failed to apprehend the fact that that situation has changed. You are right. Before 2010 Constitution, the DCI was run as a covert arm of the police to meet terror, you understand, espionage. And this is the yester mindset that still resides in the mind and the functions of George Kinoti as the current Director of Criminal Investigation. He still thinks he's the supremo, as it was before the promulgation of the Constitution. But that notion must be removed from his head. It must be removed from the minds of all Kenyans. The state power of criminal prosecution is now streamlined under the Constitution. And any attempts to claw back on that definitive position in the Constitution must be fought. And as lawyers, we are determined to fight it. You understand? Yes.
And does it matter who is at the tail end of this injustice? And I ask this question because it would seem as though that there are those in this country for whom justice is a given, and then there are those in this country for whom it's a suggestion, and then for others who will face it regardless, depending on where in social strata you find yourself. So who is it for?
Justice is for all. You see, now you look at the manner in which justice is administered. It's supposed to be fair, equal to the high, to those who are low. There will be this lamentation that the Director of Public Prosecution is bending the law in the manner in which he makes decisions to charge. But if you are to examine all the cases that he's being accused of failing to make a decision to charge or failing to progress the prosecution, you'll be able to see the flaw. Let me pick the latest example. Look at this case. Is it the Ndichu brothers? The DCI had forwarded the file to the Director of Public Prosecution within a record 24 hours, saying, charge these two brothers. What did the DPP say? Have you ascertained whether those two gentlemen are licensed firearm holders? Have you looked at the CCTV? Have you ascertained whether a medical examination on the victims was done? I mean, which policeman or policewoman fails to do that? You know, unless you plan to tank these cases. Yeah. And files taken to the DPP are replete with these things. And if you are to evaluate it from that standpoint, you'll be able to see who between these two officers shoulders the highest degree of blame. In my opinion, it's the Director of Criminal Investigations, because the moment the DPP takes the file and charges you and progresses the prosecution, the failure or success of that prosecution is on him.
Yep.
Why will he want to take a case that is doomed to fail?
So are you saying it's intentional?
As I said in the beginning, part of it is premeditated and part of it is just out of sheer ignorance.
Incompetence.
Yeah, and incompetence by some of these officers.
How about in the cases then where we see the DPP has taken a case to court and then makes applications later, let's say consolidate cases? There's the ongoing one. Consolidate a case because the DPP has realized that case number 1 and case number 2 have about the same people, have the same witnesses. And then 2 years down the road is when you're making that application. Let's consolidate this.
Look, everybody is prone to make mistakes. But if you make a mistake within the power you're given, you are entitled to make that mistake. No wonder, therefore, the law permits consolidation. It permits withdrawal of these charges. And you can't fault the DPP for taking that path as and when it proves prudent for him as the person in charge of a state power of criminal prosecution. It's perfectly in order. But when all this is said and done, it depends on the quality of investigation, because he will always have volumes of files submitted to him. And from a cursory look of the report, part of it could be sustainable. But as you progress, you realize where the weaknesses are and the need for you to cobble your case in a particular way so that it succeeds.
It would seem as though, just from the examples that you've given and what you've said, is that you have a particular leaning towards the DPP and that the DCI here is at fault for most of these issues. Is that the case? And would your submissions be so strong had you not been on the firing end of the DCI at some point with some of the charges you said were brought against you?
You know, I have affinity of aligning myself to what is right, just, and lawful. And my opinion will not change, even if I was not subject to those two spurious charges. It wouldn't change. And you've seen, I've come out strongly in cases where I believe the DPP is on the wrong. I mean, let's not go far. When criminal charges were profiled against the Deputy Chief Justice who went to court, it was me. So this is an objective evaluation. And the point of discussion right now, insofar as the contest between the Director of Criminal Investigation and the Director of Public Prosecution is concerned, are 13 enumerated cases. And anybody reviewing those 13 cases will be able to see without any doubt who is on the wrong on this side. And this is how we are trained to think as lawyers, to be objective, to examine the facts and the law. So my opinion is very objective. And look, truth be told, I'm one of the individuals who a few years ago made a petition to remove the then Director of Public Prosecution, who is a current Cabinet Secretary, Kiraeko Tobiko, on cogent grounds. But what they're seeking to remove Nurdin Haji from office on is preposterous. It's preposterous. Look at the case of Justice Sankale, for instance. They're saying that one share out of 1,000 shares, which is indicated to have been given to the judge in 1999, and the office of a director of that company, which again moved from the judge in 2002 to Wairimu, the wife of the late Tob Cohen, is indicative of motive to murder. I mean, how spurious can this be? Amongst many other things that we have enumerated. And look, if we were to start a lynch mob on the Director of Public Prosecution, what do we really want to achieve when this office is supposed to be insulated from this interference?
Right.
Yeah. And he has a lot of work to do. Why must he be called to answer to these stupid questions that do not have any foundation whatsoever?
Let's talk about human rights, and this is with regards to what's in the news now.
Yes.
The death of Agnes Wanjiru in 2012, allegedly in the hands of a British soldier in Nanyuki. This matter was, of course, reported to the police then. This matter went into a judicial inquest. We haven't seen any progress in Kenyan courts. Then it's reported in British media, and now we see, the head of the Batuk in Kenya, the High Commissioner in Kenya, speaking and saying, yeah, we are cooperating with the police and Kenyan authorities with regards to investigations into this murder. Now, this is Agnes Wanjiru, who died 9 years ago, left a family that does not know what happened to their kin, left a child that does not know what happened to its mother, and the pursuit for justice seems to have taken, a very long route and become a cold case until a British newspaper brings it back up to light. So what is it that would make such a case take so long? And from your own observation and understanding of how, police investigations and prosecutions work, why did it take so long for this case to go to court?
Well, Latif, look, who is supposed to investigate is the National Police Service. What is the relationship between the government of the Republic of Kenya and the government of the United Kingdom? What is it that underlies their relationship insofar as these military trainings are concerned? And there could be reason, there could be motive to conceal these egregious crimes. And that explains why this particular case has taken long to unfold. And it's deplorable. It is deplorable. So the British High Commissioner must do more than talking. They must surrender the suspect as soon as possible so that investigations are concluded and he is prosecuted for this heinous murder. Because these transgressions have prevailed. Not so long ago, they tortured an elephant. No action was taken against these soldiers. What is it that they're doing here in Kenya? Yeah, we must examine to that extent, because we don't want a repeat of these things.
And the Law Society that you currently are heading, what has it done? Yes, there are very many cases that the Law Society of Kenya has taken to court, public interest cases.
Yes.
And you can say they are big cases. Do you choose some of these cases because of their high profile? And so a case like Agnes Wanjiru's, which really would not be making such big headlines, would not be a sweet thing for LSK to take to court? Why don't we see LSK, for example, taking these cases to court? Agnes Wanjiru's case, the case of the Samburu community, those who have been maimed and others killed by an exploded ordnance, it's taken by others in court. Why don't we see LSK being more active?
LSK has been very active, but it must be understood that LSK also has its limitations. First and foremost, we are a statutory organization. We are a statutory body with a lot of responsibilities that transcend litigation, public interest litigation. But the Law Society, if it is under the leadership of credible individuals like myself, will always be fought. You understand? But we're not complaining, we're just explaining. Yeah. And there are many cases that come to us. We take, but we're not able to exhaust all these cases. But now that this has been pointed out, we'll be able to see what can be done so as we propel.
But Nelson, there have been many opportunities like this. Yeah. When a British lawyer, Lady, comes to Kenya and goes and organizes a community, takes their case, when he also goes and organizes a community of ex-Mau Mau fighters, takes their case, when he does the same with a community around the farm in Murang'a, takes their case, you ask yourself, but why are people who should be speaking on behalf of Kenyans, who understand the system in Kenya, why are they silent? Why are they quiet? a case such as this one of Agnes Wanjiru's, which has been there since 2012, and I'm sure this is not the only one. There may be other complaints against the British Army Training Unit in Kenya that have been lodged within Laikipia, within maybe Samburu, but we don't see them.
I agree with you, and I don't want to fault you, because often in life, people will see what you've not done, and they will not want to see what you've done. And I've explained the reason as to why we are in this state. We, as the Law Society, are not funded by the government, yet we do work that is synonymous to a government agency. In fact, of a greater magnitude. Yeah. Look, as president of the Law Society, I'm supposed to have the same qualifications as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. We sit in so many organizations that require our input. We participate in so many appointments. We give oversight. Yet you're supposed to do this within this constricted environment where there is no finance, where what you do is always curtailed. But I want to tell you that a good leader must admit where the plate is full, where the plate is overflowing. And it's because of what I have done during my administration that questions of this kind have been elicited. Because you've seen the potential in us to deliver. That's the reason as to why you expect us to deliver on this. And I expect whoever will take over from me will be able to accomplish this, because I'm on my way out. But that does not mean I will stop championing the rights of Kenyan human rights.
Mr. HAVI, yes. So that we don't judge you harshly or wrongly, tell us about public interest cases that involved the undertrodden in this community that the LSK has undertaken during your tenure.
Fine. Now, on the 16th of April 2020, Justice Weldon Korir gave a judgment insofar as the enforcement of the curfew is concerned. He said, yes, the curfew can be left to persist for purposes of containing COVID-19, but the police should exercise restraint, ensure that they do not violate human rights. You remember on the Friday that the curfew was declared, how many people did we lose? That Friday alone, we lost 7 people. It is as a result of that decision that we have, despite the loss of more lives, destruction of property, it's not been rampant. You understand? What about the merger between KQ and KA? The Law Society presented a memorandum in Parliament to object to this heinous enterprise, the effect of which was to continue impoverishing Kenyans. Look at minimum tax. Look at the BBI itself. Who benefits from this? Is it the downtrodden or is it the mighty? It is the downtrodden. You understand? But as I've said, and I will continue saying, the mere fact that you expect us to do more is a realization of what we have done within the last 2 years. And I pray whoever succeeds me takes on from where I've left and doesn't drop the ball, because the Law Society has now been elevated to a very high pedestal. Its lost glory has been regained. And this explains why the government is so determined to contain me with the hope that they are containing the Law Society, which is a flawed premise upon which to respond to what we're doing. But be guaranteed the Law Society will continue performing its role for the downtrodden.
Is there another one of those roles, what we've heard recently, that former Chief Justice Willie Mutunga had said that he would go and bring back Miguna Miguna? You then, not long after that, decided that you would also be on this trip. Why is this so important? Or is this another role in which the rights of Kenyans are being looked after by the Law Society? Why is it such an important issue?
Very, very fundamental. Look, Dr. Willie Mutunga has been in this struggle from the 70s. It's like an old general saying that I want to come back and fight because you youngsters have failed us. You understand? And I don't think it's an indictment on us. It's an indictment on the state, the government. And To what extent? For what reason? There are about 15 decisions that have determined that Miguna is a Kenyan citizen by birth, that have determined that his purported deportation from Kenya was unlawful. The courts have said he ought to come back. Why is he not coming back? Why is the government not obeying these court orders? And the Law Society was an interested party in this case of Miguna Miguna. You remember, I was the lead lawyer from the beginning to the end. Some of the cases have been handled by Dr. Haminwa, but we set up from the beginning to challenge this action. Now, if Miguna Miguna cannot be allowed to come back to Kenya, and this is a question that Dr. Willie Mutunga has posed, those individuals seeking high office in this country, in particular those seeking to be president of this republic, must explain to us why they cannot voice their concern, why they cannot prevail upon President Uhuru Kenyatta to ensure that his government obeys court orders and Miguna Miguna is allowed back in Kenya. Because they're all with access to the president. What has changed? And that explains why Dr. Willie Mutunga has taken this initiative. And it is his initiative. On my part, have said I'm ready, willing, and able to accompany him and to do all that is legally permissible within.
What do you expect to happen?
To bring him back.
What do you expect to happen? I mean, in the context of you understand, you have dealt with this particular case, you've seen what has happened and how Miguna Miguna left the country. What do you expect to happen? Your flight departs Canada on its way to Kenya, arrives at JKIA. What then?
You know, the government of Kenya has been very trivial in its handling of this matter. What danger does Miguna Miguna pose to the government? And put aside even the danger, doesn't he have a legal right to be here, a legal right that has been asserted by the court? Now, the last time Miguna attempted to come back to Kenya, there was a red alert, and that's why Lufthansa could not board him for purposes of the Kenyan destination. And these red alerts do not have any legal justification. So that the biggest hurdle we face are the red alerts.
What is a red alert?
I mean, it's a pointer that this particular passenger is a security threat and he should not be allowed on a plane. How can Miguna Miguna be a security threat, yet the courts of his country have determined that he's entitled to come back? Yeah. But you see, the most unfortunate thing is that some of these airlines are not subject to the Kenyan jurisdiction. So that, yes, we have a court order, but we'll need to be moving.
But who else are red alerts issued for? And what are the circumstances, apart from this one of ours, are red alerts issued for?
I mean, it will be prudent to issue a red alert against a drug trafficker, a terrorist, or a suspected criminal, and for good reason, so that when they board the plane, notification is made, they're able to locate him or her for purposes of apprehension. What is the purpose of a red alert on Miguna Miguna?
So essentially they put Miguna Miguna in the same category as these individuals you've mentioned, these groupings.
Indeed, and that aggravates the violation of his rights. Yeah, he is a Kenyan. Courts have said he ought to come back. On what basis are you prohibiting him from coming back?
Indeed. Nelson, we have about a minute before we say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home, but the show continues on SpiceFM. The court has basically said that the judges who were not appointed by the president should be appointed within 14 days, failure to which they stand appointed, and the Chief Justice can then go ahead and swear them in. What do you make of that? Was it a judgment or was it a ruling? I don't know, understand the language.
Yeah, it was a judgment of 3 judges of the High Court. What do I make of it? It speaks to the egregious conduct of the President of the Republic of Kenya. For him, the Constitution has always stood on his way. It's an inconvenience. But it also speaks to other things. The judiciary is getting emboldened day after day. to make decisions that conform with the Constitution and call out the executive. So that effective 4th of November, and it's expected that President Uhuru Kenyatta will not swear them in. I mean, let's not look for surprise. He will not swear them in. Now, the ball is on the court of Chief Justice Martha Koome. And this is the biggest test that has been laid for her. Will she do the right thing, as did Chief Justice David Maraga before her when he swore in Mohamed Wasame, when President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Attorney General had refused to gazette him and swear him in as a commissioner of the Judicial Service Commission? How will the executive react when she does that? Because there is this false construct that the power to gazette and swear in is the power given to the president. I mean, I'm sure the president's advisors must be telling him if she dares swear them in, she'll be committing treason.
Let's continue this conversation after the news. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We've been live on KTN Home since the top of the hour. The conversation continues on SpiceFM, 94.4 in Nairobi, 87.9 Mombasa, 102.5 Kisumu, 96.0 Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, Nyeri 90.9, and Malindi is 97.7. The Law Society of Kenya President Nelson HAVI is in the studio. We're talking about rule of law, status of human rights in the country. There are very many things that are happening politically, legally, socially, and all of them are pointing to just one thing: is whether we have proper rule of law, whether human rights are being upheld in this country. Keep it right here for more of these conversations coming up in the next hour. A very good morning to you. It's now 9 a.m.
No comment.
Mwanaume
In fact, the question is asked,
Unu mwanaume gani?
sampli gani hii mwanaume, surely.
Nelson, as we were going to the break, we were talking about this very, very major judgment of the High Court judges. He said, well, the president appointed some, did not appoint others. What happens to them? Basically, the judges said the president must appoint them within the next 14 days, after failure to which they stand appointed and the Chief Justice can then go ahead and swear them in. Now, even before we get there, what is the procedure? What does the law say with regards to appointment of judges from a point of declaration of a vacancy?
Well, simply put in one sentence, the president shall appoint judges on recommendation of the Judicial Service Commission, with exception of the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice, whose appointment shall be subjected to the approval of the National Assembly. Now, mischievous interpretation of that one line will lead to this conclusion, that if the Judicial Service Commission recommends, then it means the president has the power to accept or reject the recommendation, and that his function of appointment is the ultimate in the continuum of processes leading to the appointment of judges. But that mischievous interpretation is what the Constitution does not envisage. Because before the promulgation of the Constitution, the president had the ultimate power of appointment. And the people of Kenya decided to remove that power from the president because the power was being abused. Now, if the president still retains the ceremonial role, and that ceremonial role is important because the president is the head of state and head of government. It validates this process because even if the appointment is a function of the Judicial Service Commission, it's a function undertaken within the ambit of the functions of the state. So it's important that the president validates this action. But we have a president who, for reasons known to him, because he doesn't like my face, he doesn't like my voice because he's a soprano, he says, you will not be the Chief Justice. And when he's pushed further, he says, you have integrity questions. Which are these integrity questions? How are they supposed to be handled? You submit your petition before the Judicial Service Commission, which again recommends to you as the president to set up a tribunal to remove the charge. Now, if you fail to exercise powers that you are given, be they ceremonial, be they real, then this power is going to be taken away from you. because even the functions, the powers and duties of the president, they are given to him as a trustee of the people. Judges exercise judicial power as trustees of the people. Parliamentarians exercise legislative power as trustees of the people. The people can take this power from you. So what the three judges have said, you have failed to exercise powers given to you for no good reason. We have taken these powers from you. And if you don't appoint these judges within 14 days, your power will cease to reside in you. And it will reside in somebody else as a trustee of the people. I mean, it's a very monumental judgment, Latif. And because I'm prone to speaking the truth, I didn't expect the judges to do this. But often, the judges keep on surprising us.
What does it do for them?
Pardon?
What does it do for them?
Look, it is self-preservation. It protects the independence of the judiciary. It asserts the role of the judiciary. It makes you and I more comfortable that even that which is given to us, though far-fetched from the prism of a critical thinker, is available to you. You understand? And the more reason as to why people like me will always say, Constitution, Constitution, any day Constitution. And when judges do this, we are proud. And we all need to be proud.
There's some sense of pride, yes, from what the judges have done in terms of like what you're saying, protection of the judiciary and all. But then they've also set their boss up for a new, renewed conflict with the executive. Remember, this was an issue. As soon as she was sworn in and she took office, she has said it herself. She wrote to the president and sought audience with the president. Among the things she wanted to discuss was the appointment of the 40 judges. The following day, after she sent a letter, the president appoints 40 minus 6 judges. And what did the Chief Justice say? She said, yes, I understand. I've seen the action of the president. I'm going to swear in the judges that have been appointed while I pursue another way of getting the other judges appointed. She still said, I still maintain that the others should be appointed. So she basically told everybody, including members of the judiciary, that give me time, allow me to pursue this particular matter in other ways. And then now the High Court comes and says, you know what, Madam Chief Justice, you now must go ahead and swear them in. Forget these other means that you are trying to pursue. Don't you think that sets her up with the executive again?
All leaders are set up. That's why Napoleon said, the people can make you emperor. They can also make you prisoner. And specific to the office of the Chief Justice, it is a political office, much as the holder is a judge. Now, look, I didn't agree with Justice Martha Koome when she acceded to the swearing in of a lesser number of judges than those appointed. But as I've said, it's a political decision, which I respect. It has gone a long way to ensure that we have judges to clear the backlog. And, I mean, they were languishing, these nominees. So let's not fault Martha Koome for that decision, because every politician will make a decision depending on the environment. And she can still make another good political decision now by swearing in the judges. What does she suffer? Because you see, a leader is like a surfer. You need to monitor the wave. And if the wave is conducive to take you ashore, you follow it. What is the public mood right now? If Martha Koome was to notify that she will swear in these 6 judges on the 5th of November, guess who will be there as the first to witness? Yours truly. You understand? We'll go there to validate. And she has nothing to lose. So, yes, she's been set up.
You're sure she has nothing to lose?
She's got nothing to lose. Look, it's
Are
not...
you saying that her office doesn't require the goodwill of the executive?
It requires the goodwill of the executive, but it requires the goodwill of the people of Kenya more than that of the executive for her to maintain a legacy. And as a political leader, she must always listen to the heartbeat of the people. What is the heartbeat of the people of Kenya? You understand? Do the right thing. Look, Maraga is celebrated. He's loved by everybody. He was frustrated in his administration, but he stood for the right thing. He always stood with the people. He will go down as the most respected Chief Justice we've ever had. Martha Koome has the opportunity of doing the same thing. And what harm can they do to her? They can't take away her car. They can't take away her salary. They can't lock her office. They can't kill her. You understand? Let her do the right thing. Swear in the 6 judges so that the democratic space, the rule of law that we have enjoyed in the recent past is sustained.
Okay, so I mean, it's so much we've heard in terms of the independence of the judiciary being usurped by the executive. Is this now one opportunity to show that perhaps things are changing?
Things are changing, and they've been changing for a while. But one admission that must be made, worldwide, all heads of state will want to have control of the judiciary. Even if you're to elect me president today, I'll want to have control. It's natural. You understand?
Yep.
No wonder, therefore, we have these safeguards in the Constitution. And whilst you enjoy those safeguards, if you're given the power to ensure that those safeguards are maintained, maintain them. Yeah. Because it's always a contest, the executive and the judiciary. I mean, you're looking for a way to go around this demand, this restriction. And it's the responsibility of the other arm of government to contain you, which is natural. That's why we have checks and balances.
Yes.
We're all human, even when you're given higher responsibilities in office. You will want to overreach. That's why somebody must be there to prevent your overreach.
Yeah.
You know, I actually think that what is being presented as differences, I'm not going to use the word disagreement, I have maintained that it is really good for us as laymen and citizens because it shows us, it opens us up to understanding the Constitution more.
Yes.
Because these independent institutions in reality are new in terms of concept and in terms of the actual operationalization of them. Because my mindset as a Kenyan, even now as I speak, is that of a president who actually wields supreme and executive power. The checks and balances, yes, academically speaking, I understand them. But when put to practice, it's, as I say, new. So whenever we have a situation that seems to be adversarial, where the executive seems to be at loggerheads with the judiciary, it is a really good thing for us. It's a good thing for the country. It's a horrible thing when one sees the other independent arm of government, the National Assembly, doing what it does, acting as hired goons and thugs for the executive. Yeah, but that's what they do. The very things that you expect they would stand up and be counted for are the very things they don't stand up and are counted for. So it's continuous. So we, the citizens, are left in limbo, and you wonder why on earth it is you even have a National Assembly. Again, since the opportunity presents itself, maybe the president ought to do what Justice Maraga asked him to do.
What? Dissolve Parliament?
Dissolve Parliament.
Send them home.
Elder, I don't want you to be afraid of offering your name to be elected as President of the Republic of Kenya for fear that it's a powerless office. It's a very powerful office, you understand? And it will still retain its power, notwithstanding the checks and balances. Look at the President of the United States of America. He is subjected to a lot of restrictions, but when he or she acts within the powers given to him or her by the Constitution, is still a very powerful individual. What does it benefit you as the President of the Republic of Kenya to be ashamed every Friday because decisions are given on Friday when your decisions are declared null and void? You can imagine his nickname is null and void. You understand? He will still be very powerful if he acceded to what was right, if he did that which was just. He'll be benevolent, you understand? But yes, democracy, like a tree, grows. And as it grows, there will be seasons. The weather will change. And I must confess, what you've pointed out is quite correct. it is through these things that we're able to see what really is the benefit of the Constitution, what is the rule of law. Because if they are not there, you wouldn't perceive them. Somebody said yesterday, I think it must have been one of the articles, the Standard, that Moi was never accused of disobeying a court order because he wouldn't let an order be made against him. He will always act within the Constitution. Huh? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And some of us really admire Moi. There are many things that are untoward about him. But why will I will not disobey a court order. You understand? Let me just act in a manner that there will be no order
There will be no order against you anyway.
For me to disobey. You get it? But within the constitutional setup, you understand? Do the right thing.
No.
Yeah.
Moi, actually, one could argue, was prudent in that he ensured that his appointees from the Chief Justice, those who are supposed to prosecute, those who are supposed to follow that chain of command, would not allow a situation.
Elder, let me give you a good example. Moi once said, let Tanui Agwe judge. And then the Attorney General did not get the name properly. Instead of bringing Tanui, he brought Tunoi. Yeah, then, he had been gazetted. So, you see what the current president will have to say. No, it's not this. But Moi just looked the other side. Okay, fine.
Let him have it.
Yeah, that's how a leader is supposed to act. I mean, the mistake is negligible.
There's always a debate about whether it is the president or whether it is advisors. And then there are those who say, but it is the president who chooses his advisors. And then there are those who also say, indeed. But are you then saying that because you've been chosen as an advisor, it doesn't behove you to point the president in the right direction?
You know, the buck stops with you. In the medieval times, when the people wanted to hang, guillotine, or shoot the king or the emperor, it's you that they killed. They didn't kill your advisors. You understand? And it was not an excuse or a defense that this was the advice given to me by Latif or Ndu or the elder. Yes, you need to take advice, but the ultimate decision is yours. There are things that you can do right even without seeking counsel of somebody.
So you're saying many of these things boil down to the individual.
It is the
and
individual.
what sort of person that individual is.
It is the individual. Look, the Constitution is written in very simplistic English. Yeah, everybody understands it. So, and look, I have advisors, Elder. Yeah, I listen to them. I will not dispute what they are saying. If they're telling me bullshit, I will do the opposite. Understand? Because I'll go and do my own research. But woe betide you if you are king, if you are president. And how much advice? How many people will give you counsel? You see how many people advise me on Twitter? My follower base is almost 750. Everybody wants to advise me. How will I go like this? Because you're advising me to go that side.
Yeah.
I must make a decision. So the ultimate responsibility for the decision, as the great American president said, the buck stops here. Yeah. After Uhuru Kenyatta is out of office, you wouldn't even know this character called Kariuki Kihara. He will dissipate. He will fizzle like the whirlpool, like the devil dust. Nobody will know of him. Do you know who was his successor? Who was his predecessor?
Yes.
And the one before him? And the one before him?
Yes.
They're about two attorney generals.
Attorney generals.
No.
No, there are about two attorney generals that are alive here before Amos Wako that we don't know of. You understand?
Yeah. And they're alive and well.
That's the point. So, but we still talk about the ills of President Daniel Arap Moi, who was advised by them. You understand? Yeah. How much blameworth is attributed to Amos Wako for the duration that he was President Daniel Arap Moi's advice? Where? None. Amos Wako is a respected lawyer. You get it? Yeah. So he has distinguished himself. He's come out. Yeah. the President of the Republic of Kenya must always do the right thing.
He must
And when
stand
you
by.
do the right thing, you'll be able to walk the streets of Nairobi without,
mudslinging.
Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings. You remember before his death, the guy could drive in the streets of Accra and get out of his jeep and clear traffic.
Sure.
You want to tell me our president can do that? They will be pelted with stones.
I doubt it.
Fine.
Nelson, so you want to be MP?
Yes.
All right. And just from what you were saying earlier, you were saying you've seen that there are very many failures and you want to put yourself in the ring so that you can be part of those that are bringing change and mending these failures. Now, do you really honestly believe that by becoming a member of parliament, you are going to change the way things have been done in the legislature?
Absolutely, yes, Latif. Look at the last 2 years that I've been in office as president of the Law Society. We've been very impactful in monitoring legislation. We have played a fundamental role in oversighting the executive, in defending the rights of the downtrodden and the might. But as we commenced this discussion, I indicated the primordial role lies with Parliament. Parliament is tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that we have good legislation. There is equitable distribution of the national revenue. There is proper oversight of the executive and state agencies. And above all, a member of National Assembly is given a special kitty for infrastructural development towards ameliorating the poverty situation in that particular area. Why is it that fuel prices are high? Why is it that HELB loan continues being a burden to students? Why is it that taxes continue going up, rent, the cost of living? What have our legislators done? It is for this reason that I've offered myself to represent the people of Kenya through a constituency peculiar, Westlands, to ensure that those four main responsibilities of a member of National Assembly are performed. And my track record speaks to my selflessness, the ability to confront evil, the desire to do good for the people. And this is something that can be done. It will be done.
What would you tackle? There seems to, every time I look at, there's a litany of issues, around the country. And every time we look at this, we say, okay, can you really have your finger on all these, openings here and there? What would you tackle? What pops out at you as the most important things that must be dealt with?
Good laws. That is the starting point. Because good laws sustain a democracy. Good laws make everything perfect. What is it that is told about our legislators? Look, without picking any particular member of National Assembly or member of the Senate, how did they vote on the BBI bill? How did they vote on the fuel levy? How did they vote on the on the minimum tax, digital tax, HELB? You get it? These are the things that affect everybody across the spectrum, whether you're in the low class, middle class, or the upper class. It's a trickle-down effect. So I have four main responsibilities, but one which is Herculean, but which is within my ability to surmount the environment. And she can still make another good political decision now by swearing in the judges. What does she suffer? Because you see, a leader is like a surfer. You need to monitor the wave. And if the wave is conducive to take you ashore, you follow it. What is the public mood right now? If Martha Koome was to notify that she will swear in these 6 judges on the 5th of November, guess who will be there as the first to witness? Yours truly, you understand? We'll go there to validate. And she has nothing to lose. So yes, she's been set up.
You're sure she has nothing to lose?
She's got nothing to lose. Look, it's
Are
not...
you saying that her office doesn't require the goodwill of the executive?
It requires the goodwill of the executive, but it requires the goodwill of the people of Kenya more than that of the executive for her to maintain a legacy. And as a political leader, she must always listen to the heartbeat of the people. What is the heartbeat of the people of Kenya? You understand? do the right thing. Look, Maraga is celebrated. He's loved by everybody. He was frustrated in his administration, but he stood for the right thing. He always stood with the people. He will go down as the most respected Chief Justice we've ever had. Martha Koome has the opportunity of doing the same thing. And what harm can they do to her? They can't take away her car. They can't take away her salary. They can't lock her office. They can't kill her. You understand? Let her do the right thing. Swear in the 6 judges so that the democratic space, the rule of law that we have enjoyed in the recent past is sustained.
Okay, so I mean, it's so much we've heard in terms of the independence of the judiciary being usurped by the executive. Is this now one opportunity to show that perhaps things are changing?
Things are changing, and they've been changing for a while. But one admission that must be made, worldwide, all heads of state will want to have control of the judiciary. Even if you're to elect me president today, I'll want to have control. It's natural. You understand?
Yep.
No wonder, therefore, we have these safeguards in the Constitution. And whilst you enjoy those safeguards, if you're given the power to ensure that those safeguards are maintained, maintain them. Yeah. Because it's always a contest, the executive and the judiciary. I mean, you're looking for a way to go around this demand, this restriction. And it's the responsibility of the other arm of government to contain you, which is natural. That's why we have checks and balances.
Yes.
We're all human, even when you're given higher responsibilities in office. You will want to overreach. That's why somebody must be there to prevent your overreach.
Yeah.
You know, I actually think that what is being presented as differences, I'm not going to use the word disagreement, I have maintained that it is really good for us as laymen and citizens because it shows us, it opens us up to understanding the Constitution more.
Yes.
Because these independent institutions in reality are new in terms of concept and in terms of the actual operationalization of them. Because my mindset as a Kenyan, even now as I speak, is that of a president who actually wields supreme and executive power. The checks and balances, yes, academically speaking, I understand them. But when put to practice, it's, as I say, new. So whenever we have a situation that seems to be adversarial, where the executive seems to be at loggerheads with the judiciary, it is a really good thing for us. It's a good thing for the country. It's a horrible thing when one sees the other independent arm of government, the National Assembly, doing what it does, acting as hired goons and thugs for the executive. Yeah, but that's what they do. The very things that you expect they would stand up and be counted for are the very things they don't stand up and are counted for. So it's continuous. So we, the citizens, are left in limbo, and you wonder why on earth it is you even have a National Assembly. Again, since the opportunity presents itself, maybe the president ought to do what Justice Maraga asked him to do.
What? Dissolve Parliament?
Dissolve Parliament.
Send them home.
Elder, I don't want you to be afraid of offering your name to be elected as President of the Republic of Kenya for fear that it's a powerless office. It's a very powerful office, you understand? And it will still retain its power, notwithstanding the checks and balances. Look at the President of the United States of America. He is subjected to a lot of restrictions, but when he or she acts within the powers given to him or her by the Constitution, is still a very powerful individual. What does it benefit you as the President of the Republic of Kenya to be ashamed every Friday because decisions are given on Friday when your decisions are declared null and void? You can imagine his nickname is null and void. You understand? He will still be very powerful if he acceded to what was right, if he did that which was just. He'll be benevolent, you understand? But yes, democracy, like a tree, grows. And as it grows, there will be seasons. The weather will change. And I I must confess, what you've pointed out is quite correct. It is through these things that we're able to see what really is the benefit of the Constitution, what is the rule of law. Because if they are not there, you wouldn't perceive them. Somebody said yesterday, I think it must have been one of the articles, the Standard, that Moi was never accused of disobeying a court order because he wouldn't let an order be made against him. He will always act within the Constitution. Huh? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And some of us really admire Moi. There are many things that are untoward about him. But why will I will not disobey a court order. You understand? Let me just act in a manner that there will be no order
There will be no order against you anyway.
For me to disobey. You get it? But within the constitutional setup, you understand? Do the right thing.
No.
Yeah.
Moi, actually, one could argue, was prudent in that he ensured that his appointees from the Chief Justice, those who are supposed to prosecute, those who are supposed to follow that chain of command, would not allow a situation.
Elder, let me give you a good example. Moi once said, let Tanui Agwe judge. And then the Attorney General did not get the name properly. Instead of bringing Tanui, he brought Tunoi. Yeah, then, he had been gazetted. So, you see what the current president will have to say. No, it's not this. But Moi just looked the other side. Okay, fine.
Let him have it.
Yeah, that's how a leader is supposed to act. I mean, the mistake is negligible.
There's always a debate about whether it is the president or whether it is advisors. And then there are those who say, but it is the president who chooses his advisors. And then there are those who also say, indeed. But are you then saying that because you've been chosen as an advisor, it doesn't behove you to point the president in the right direction?
You know, the buck stops with you. In the medieval times, when the people wanted to hang, guillotine, or shoot the king or the emperor, it's you that they killed. They didn't kill your advisors. You understand? And it was not an excuse or a defense that this was the advice given to me by Latif or Ndu or the elder. Yes, you need to take advice, but the ultimate decision is yours. There are things that you can do right even without seeking counsel of somebody.
So you're saying many of these things boil down to the individual.
It is the
and
individual.
what sort of person that individual is.
It is the individual. Look, the Constitution is written in very simplistic English. Yeah, everybody understands it. So, and look, I have advisors, Elder. Yeah, I listen to them. I will not dispute what they are saying. If they're telling me bullshit, I will do the opposite. Understand? Because I'll go and do my own research. But woe betide you if you are king, if you are president. And how much advice? How many people will give you counsel? You see how many people advise me on Twitter? My follower base is almost 750. Everybody wants to advise me. How will I go like this? Because you're advising me to go that side.
Yeah.
I must make a decision. So the ultimate responsibility for the decision, as the great American president said, the buck stops here. Yeah. After Uhuru Kenyatta is out of office, you wouldn't even know this character called Kariuki Kihara. He will dissipate. He will fizzle like the whirlpool, like the devil dust. Nobody will know of him. Do you know who was his successor? Who was his predecessor?
Yes.
And the one before him? And the one before him?
Yes.
They're about two attorney generals.
Attorney generals.
No.
No, there are about two attorney generals that are alive here before Amos Wako that we don't know of. You understand?
Yeah. And they're alive and well.
That's the point. So, but we still talk about the ills of President Daniel Arap Moi, who was advised by them. You understand? Yeah. How much blameworth is attributed to Amos Wako for the duration that he was President Daniel Arap Moi's advice? Where? None. Amos Wako is a respected lawyer. You get it? Yeah. So he has distinguished himself. He's come out. Yeah. The President of the Republic of Kenya must always do the right thing. And when you do the right thing, you'll be able to walk the streets of Nairobi without, like Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings. You remember before his death, the guy could drive in the streets of Accra and get out of his jeep and clear traffic.
Sure.
You want to tell me our president can do that? They will be pelted with stones.
I doubt it.
Fine.
Nelson, so you want to be MP?
Yes.
All right. And just from what you were saying earlier, you were saying you've seen that there are very many failures and you want to put yourself in the ring so that you can be part of those that are bringing change and mending these failures. Now, do you really honestly believe that by becoming a member of parliament, you are going to change the way things have been done in the legislature?
Absolutely, yes, Latif. Look at the last 2 years that I've been in office as president of the Law Society. We've been very impactful in monitoring legislation. We have played a fundamental role in oversighting the executive, in defending the rights of the downtrodden and the might. But as we commenced this discussion, I indicated the primordial role lies with Parliament. Parliament is tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that we have good legislation. There is equitable distribution of the national revenue. There is proper oversight of the executive and state agencies. And above all, a member of National Assembly is given a special kitty for infrastructural development towards ameliorating the poverty situation in that particular area. Why is it that fuel prices are high? Why is it that HELB loan continues being a burden to students? Why is it that taxes continue going up, rent, the cost of living? What have our legislators done? It is for this reason that I've offered myself to represent the people of Kenya through a constituency peculiar, Westlands, to ensure that those four main responsibilities of a member of National Assembly are performed. And my track record speaks to my selflessness, the ability to confront evil, the desire to do good for the people. And this is something that can be done. It will be done.
What would you tackle? There seems to, every time I look at, there's a litany of issues, around the country. And every time we look at this, we say, okay, can you really have your finger on all these, openings here and there? What would you tackle? What pops out at you as the most important things that must be dealt with?
Good laws. That is the starting point. Because good laws sustain a democracy. Good laws make everything perfect. What is it that is told about our legislators? Look, without picking any particular member of National Assembly or member of the Senate, how did they vote on the BBI bill? How did they vote on the fuel levy? How did they vote on the minimum tax, digital tax, HELB? You get it? These are the things that affect everybody across the spectrum, whether you're in the low class, middle class, or the upper class. It's a trickle-down effect. So I have four main responsibilities, but one which is Herculean, but which is within my ability to surmount, is good laws. Only one person needs to stand out and do something.
Right.
Like Fidel Castro said, I started the revolution with 90 men. I will still do it today with 15 men. It requires one man, one woman to do it. What if there are many of us? You journalists, why don't you offer yourself to be elected? Doctors, engineers, nurses. That's why we have many people in parliament who have struggled to buy degrees to go there, because they're not known for anything they do. I know this chap is a distinguished journalist. I know this lady, she's a distinguished journalist. I know this gentleman is a distinguished journalist. You know me, I'm a distinguished lawyer. If you had to parade some of these characters and ask them, what do you do? They will not be able to tell you what they do. That is why you cannot hold them accountable to any ethics, any ethos, any values. And with my proven track record as a lawyer of 18 years, experience as a champion of human rights, the rule of law, and above all, as the most fought president of the Law Society, as Elder will say here.
How's that for an accolade?
Have the battle scars
Let's take a break.
required for this purpose.
Let's take a break now, take a look at traffic and then come back. I'll be very interested to hear exactly how you hope to change things just by being a solitary member in that National Assembly. If we look at the track record of the current Parliament, the 12th Parliament, the 11th Parliament, now let's just put Nelson HAVI among those and let's see. How different would it be? It's 28 minutes to 10. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Let's be back after the break. Is Nelson HAVI, President of the Law Society of Kenya. As we continue to hear what he wants to do as a Member of Parliament, let's hear from Anthony, who's calling from Mombasa. Good morning.
Good morning, Anthony from Mombasa.
How are you?
I'm fine. Aspiring MPS Walangombe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I heard His Excellency HAVI is on the studio.
Yes.
Anthony, just pause for a second. Let me ask, Ziwalangombe, is that a ward or a constituency?
Ziwalangombe is a ward in Nyali constituency, my friend.
Okay. Please go on.
Yes, we have 5 wards, so Ziwalangombe is one of those 5 wards in Nyali constituency.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I wanted to tell Mr. HAVI this, that he should fight on because he is the most fought president of the judiciary.
Mm.
He has fought for it. I believe HAVI is the best person to be the member of parliament of Embakasi.
Westlands.
In fact, he should, or Westland, he should have fought for a bigger post than that because I believe HAVI is the best bet. But I don't support him on the side of his presidential choice. But that is his democratic right.
Okay.
I will wish to tell HAVI to maintain his position and fight for the democracy in this country because it is well known that someone like HAVI, when he is coming up to fight for a political seat, they are being told that they are projects of someone. And that is the politics that is killing the entire nation.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony.
You have to be associated by so and so is when you become, you know. So I want to tell HAVI to keep the fight ahead.
Message sent home. Karanja in Naivasha, hello.
Well, yes, good morning, Let's City. And Nelson HAVI there.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning, Karanja.
Yes, thank you, HAVI. Now, HAVI, let me take you back in 1988. The Constitutional Amendment Act, number 4 of 1988. You remember what happens. The judge was not supposed to comment publicly and even retire or resign. Number 2, you remember in 2009, the current the person who assumes office, Willy Mutunga, made concrete recommendations on the issue of the judicial reforms expected to strengthen the institution of Judicial. Now, I welcome your move at Article 159.1 of the Constitution. You know how it says about the people. I welcome your move. And even if it is allowed, I can change my voting card to Westland. I can vote for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karanja. Come to the IBC offices in Westlands, just near Safaricom, and change your vote. Your vote counts. We need it in Westlands.
Thank you. Or you do this.
Yes.
You can come to Naivasha.
Go by Naivasha.
Mutuma had been a member of parliament. He was from somewhere.
Yes.
The current member for parliament, we know where he's come from.
Yes.
So you can come to Naivasha. Naivasha will welcome everybody, provided you have a mind for the people of Naivasha. Thank you very much.
Well done. I'll come.
Thank you, Karanja. Thank you. Let's hear from Karaoke. Karaoke is in Nakuru. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Karaoke.
my greatness go to HAVI. I always like commenting when he is there. My question to my friend, the president of the Law Society, is now that you are entering into this filthy forest called Parliament, you know that's how we call it down here.
Yes.
Now that you are entering there, and according to our understanding to the members of Parliament, they vote according to the party they are related to, especially the party leader or maybe where you come from. For instance, for example, will you be able truly to do what you have been doing independently? If I truly want to give an instance where Senior Counsel Orengo and Molo, this was the day before BBI was brought down. Remember, they wanted to give their own opinion in terms of the BBI. And when they went to a burial ceremony in Nyanza, they were nearly beaten by the followers of the party leader. Remember that? Now, my question is, will you be able to express yourself according to maybe your independent mind? Will you be able to do that, Mr. President of the Law Society? That's my question, my dear.
Valid question, Karaoke. Start with that one.
Karaoke, political parties are subordinate to the Constitution. I have upheld the Constitution in the last 2 years that I've been president of the Law Society, despite many demands and pressure. Yes, I know there is need for you to align yourself with the political position by your party, but I also realize that the people are more important. If the party position will contradict what the Constitution requires of me, I will not follow the party position, and I'll be prepared to take the consequences. I will not retreat to a toilet to be given 20,000 shillings just to vote because my political party says this and this. And Karaoke, it must also be understood that these members of parliament you've just listed had an option. If the party really thought what they were doing was unconstitutional or unlawful, it could deal with them, and they will have an option of coming back to parliament through another vehicle or through an independent way. And for me, I have said time without number, I'm not in competition with any presidential election candidate, governor, senator, woman rep, or MCA. I will work for the people of Westlands irrespective of who they want as their leader in all those other positions.
You know, being in parliament is basically a team sport. You are there, you want certain piece of legislation passed, you've got to convince your fellow members of parliament to support you.
Yes.
If you want it to flop, you've got to convince them to support you. So you've got to work with the team. Now, what would you do if you get to parliament and everybody else in that team is basically a shark? And you're the only one who's sober. The others are listening to the whims. They're being controlled from outside. There is some external factor that they have to listen to. And you are saying that you want to be truthful to the people who brought you to parliament. How would you then conduct yourself?
This is a very valid question, Latif. When I ran for office of president of the Law Society, there are many who told me, look, HAVI, you're very abrasive, you're very confrontational, but we'll vote you. We'll vote you in because you stand for something. And at this particular point in time, we need a bold leader, one who is able to project our views without hesitation. And you've also spoken about the power to convince. I was able to convince them. And even with the tumult that my father-in-law here and elder always speaks about, there's unanimity of thought from a majority of lawyers that I have the power to convince. I mean, if I didn't have the power to convince, how will we be winning these cases in court? Because winning cases in court is just about convincing the judge to see why your legal arguments based upon the facts are correct. And same with the parliament. I'll be able to speak to my colleagues so that they see the need for us to transform Kenya from where it is to a greater position. And I'm proud to say that many of my members have acceded the call for them to run for public office, either as senator or as member of National Assembly. And I want to beseech many more professionals, you understand, nurses, engineers, architects, journalists, teachers to run for public office. Because you see, these are the people with the intellectual wherewithal to be convinced. The rest will not have that ability. And that's why it's important for the people of Kenya. If you are in Naivasha, if you are in Nakuru, if you are in Ziwa Langombe, to elect a member of National Assembly and Senate who will have the same capacity as that which you've pointed out of me, so that I don't meet unnecessary resistance when I'm putting before the National Assembly a bill that is intended to better the situation of the people of Kenya. Because what I put before Parliament as a member of National Assembly for Westlands will benefit the entire republic, not just people of Westlands. The only thing that benefits the people of Westlands when I'm acting for them is the use of the CDF fund. And that is just but one of the 4 main responsibilities of a member of National Assembly.
Mr. HAVI, are you planning to run on an independent ticket?
You know, sometimes you may want to board stagecoach. Remember stagecoach? Or a matatu? Or take a plane? But you may as well walk to your destination. And that is a valid question that has been asked by Kariuki. You are entering this filthy forest. But Kenya is a multi-party democracy where the first port of call is a political party. I will want to run on the basis of a political party. In fact, one that is a major political party, so that we are in government to enable the people of Westland, the people of Kenya, benefit from the democratic space.
My second question, are you planning to be a one-term MP?
Elder, the people maketh the emperor, the people removeth the emperor. I believe if the people want me to be a one-term MP, it is their choice. If the people see that my service, but I mean, somebody said, I think it is Kariuki or the gentleman from Ziwa Langombe, Anthony, he said I should even go for bigger office. What if the people say you should be a one-term MP, but thereafter go for something big?
Something else.
Yeah.
So a major political party is a means to an end for you? Is that what you're saying essentially, that the end goal is to get there, right? And to be used as a vehicle to get there? Because we then find that people join a political party just for that, to be able to get to the position. Would that be the same for you? Or would you believe in the ideals, or in, unfortunately, this case, the character of the personality who runs the political party?
Look, you're right in your question. It is a vehicle. And I'm also right in my answer. You may take the vehicle, you may run where you're going. And it will be prudent because political parties have the muscle of determining agenda in parliament. I would want to work within the environment of a political party, but I will also want to inculcate the culture of constitutionalism within that political party. Look, when President Ronald Reagan was found culpable of the Watergate scandal, I mean, an enterprise done by a very junior...
No, Watergate was Nixon.
Yes, you're right. Richard Nixon, sorry. Thank you for the correction. He realized that what the party had done was wrong. And despite sticking to the party position, he had to leave office. So the most important thing that we need to emphasize is the value, the qualities, the ethos of a leader. The moment you have that leader in parliament, the demands of his party will still be pursued within the confine of the constitution. And let me tell you the truth, and the whole truth, but nothing but the truth. Raila Amolo Odinga is the best example. You understand? You remember his migration from Ford, Kenya to NDP? Because he stood for something. Yeah. And many of us have grown up respecting Raila because he stands for something. He stood for something. You understand? Why can't we also stand for something? You get it? People like James Orengo, who served under perilous times, stood for something. You get it? The democratic space right now for an elected leader is even wider. Why do they fear? You see, every time there's an issue of national concern, they will agree with us when we meet in the marketplaces. They will agree with us when we meet in church. When they go to Parliament, the National Assembly and the Senate, they vote otherwise. Why? Tell me, Elder, why? Who will take away your liberties now? You understand? Why can they do that which Gitobe Manyara, Paul Mwite, Raila Odinga, James Orengo, Martha Karua did in times that were not as conducive as now? And that is the message I'm putting across. Let the people of Kenya elect individuals who stand for something. And the moment those individuals are in Parliament, they will not be isolated. They will be united.
What's to guarantee that this is the same language you would speak then being given that position? Because unfortunately sometimes we find that, there's one language that's spoken before that position is given, and then thereafter disappear into the woodwork or start to speak a different language. What's to guarantee that Nelson HAVI is not, one of those who will get lost in the woodwork?
Well, that's why I'm donning this olive fatigues from Havana. You see, Fidel Castro ascended to power, and Fidel Castro was a lawyer at a very tender age of 32. In fact, in his own memoirs, he never thought he'll make it to 40 because of the dangers and the demands of the office he held. At one point in time when Nikita Khrushchev withdrew support over the Cuba Missile Crisis, he still remained resolute. And even John F. Kennedy could not disentangle him from his stronghold. John F. Kennedy had to give up. You must stand for something, otherwise you'll die for nothing. I stand for something. My track record proves that. The example that I must always be allowed to milk to exhaustion is BBI. This was an enterprise for which there was a lot of money, there was a lot of force. I would have accepted money. I didn't accept money. A lot of money. You understand? I would have been coerced. I didn't. What will change when I have the platform given by the people of Westlands, given by the people of Kenya, to advocate for them? It won't change. I will be like this until my entire hair becomes white. If it doesn't drop.
Fidel Castro had one thing going for him. The times in which he stood for what he did, and he had the people. He had the support of his people.
Yes.
Unwavering support. Now, the person you mentioned, Raila Odinga, has also had that same advantage in his backyard. Unwavering support, irrespective. Somebody who can actually move with an entire community from one party to the other, even to Kanu. Now, the problem is time and the changes that times bring with it. Because that is what often catches most idealistic leaders like yourself off guard. Because you have a position, yes, a wonderful thing, but times have changed. And the very people you seek to serve love those ideals, but they've been introduced to other ideals that have superseded those noble ideals that certain people held over time. Case in point, our current political leaders. If you know them as individuals, wonderful people who have wonderful ideas, what you marvel at is the metamorphosis, the negative metamorphosis that has happened when they've actually gotten to the position they were supposed to get to. That's the marvel. And if someone isn't alert to the fact that they themselves can face the same dangers, then I think your candidacy already has a problem. Because what has befallen the others can also befall you.
And you're absolutely right, Elder. And that is why I've always said, repeating what Napoleon Bonaparte said, the people maketh the emperor, the people maketh him prisoner. And, the people have a very good heartbeat. You don't need a stethoscope to listen to what they're saying. And what has sustained me all along for the last 2 years, I can tell you, Elder, is not the propulsion that comes out of my heart, my gut. It is the people. And I propose to continue listening to the heartbeat of the people because I don't want to lose the people. And just as a manifestation of that, the best example is what we've been discussing here. I've been very treacherous territory where interest groups will want to influence my decision. I will always ask myself, what is good for the people of Westlands? What is good for the people of Kenya? Because it is for self-preservation. If I want to serve for as long as I'm alive, then I must do that which the people want. And I'm also alive to the perilous environment within which you serve the people. But if you are to pick Fidel Castro's example, we should not be able to deviate from what the people want.
Go with the people.
And you see, the beauty in Kenya is the people, after a long struggle, said, this is what we want of our leaders. And they engraved it in the Constitution. And, as we speak right now, I'm one of the few people who hold the Constitution, the speaking document of the people, as dear.
As advocate for the people, and as you say, you want to be there for the people, speak for the people, stand for the people. And now I'm asking you this question as a lawyer as we conclude. In the case of Agnes Wanjiru, and now the renewed vigor to have this matter investigated and concluded, what do you think? Should the particular soldiers be extradited back to Kenya to face trial, to face investigations and trial here?
That should have happened yesterday. And Marriott should stop beguiling Kenyans. Kenyans have suffered under British colonial rule. British soldiers are given the privilege of training in our grounds. They should not abuse that privilege. She should ensure that her government surrenders these people because there are many than that individual who must have been complicit in this heinous murder. For you to conceal a murder of this magnitude, you must have liaised with many people. So Marriott must ensure that this soldier and anybody in the British Army responsible is extradited to Kenya to face trial.
Nelson, thank you very much for joining us again today. Come back before you go to Parliament.
Latif, may I just make one call?
Yes.
For university students who study and work in Westlands, the BVR kit for registration is now at Parklands campus, University of Nairobi. Please make your way there. I'll be there for the better part of the morning. You may have a chance of meeting me as you come to register to make change in Westlands and Kenya. And I encourage you all, if you're not registered, what better place to register than in Westlands?
Great. So the man is here. He is seeking that you go and register as a voter in Westlands. Of course, hoping that once you register, you vote for him as Member of Parliament. Nelson HAVI, President of the Law Society of Kenya, and aspiring to be Member of Parliament for Westlands constituency in the next National Assembly. Thank you for joining us. Come again soon.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure being hosted by these great minds.
City in 30 seconds. Dance.
Mchetu, Karuswa, Nandiro. A woman is not seduced by crying. Choose the weapons for your battle well.
Choose the battles for your weapons.
No.
Right. Nice.
Have a lovely day, folks.
And this do not include tears.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.